All right, everyone. I am excited to introduce my next guest, actor, singer, songwriter, musician, so many credits, but so well known as BJ McKay from BJ and the Bear, Joey Harris, My Two Dads, member of Sayreville War Memorial High School's Alumni Hall of Fame. Huh? Yeah,
Ooh,
yeah.
boy, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I know.
Looking there.
Seen him on the stage, Jesus Christ Superstar, Grease. He doesn't pay property tax. Welcome to the show, Greg Evigan.
Thank you. That's everybody's favorite line. Best of
know.
all, pay property tax.
It's a great line. You know, it's so great to talk to you. And it was like, it's fun because you start to kind of look at all the shows again and kind of relive things. I stumbled on something that we could spend the whole time talking about if you want to, but the 1994 Muppets, She Drives Me Crazy music video. What?
What is right? Yeah, that was, I remember my publicity agent, somebody calling me and saying, hey, Greg, everybody's doing this thing. You got to do it, And I said, all right, well, what do we do? And then we had to show up at some soundstage and do whatever it was. It was, but it did pretty good. I mean, there was a whole bunch of people in that, wasn't there?
Oh, yeah, it was a crazy number of celebrities in it,
right?
Including like Ozzy Osbourne. And it was like, so it was one of the rare gems that I found.
Yeah. You bring up Ozzy. I remember my son, we had the band go, we did a song and they did it on remember Jack Osbourne had the show on and so we got one of the songs on that show, it was, so we have a little Ozzy history there.
Yeah. I saw that in your credits that you had. I mean, if you want to talk music, let's talk about it. So, I mean, you sang this theme song of like numerous shows. Like a lot of times it's like, you're talking, you're like, oh, I wrote and sang My Two Dads, and you sang the BJ and the Bear, but you also did like P.S. I Love You.
I was always pushing for it,
A Year at the Top with Paul Schaefer.
Right.
Yeah, so you did, maybe there's some other theme songs I missed, but like,
I think you got
definitely the theme song
I think you got
guy.
Well, the whole thing was I was always trying to incorporate music because that was the first thing. That's what got me into the whole business was just, doing music, being a singer. That's how I started out. So I was always trying to get back to that, always trying to incorporate the music. But it's hard to have, especially in those days, people would say, oh, no, he's TV, or, oh, he's movies, or he's, whatever he is. Everybody had a label for you. They got the same thing now, but it's just a little different version of it. Yeah, that was always the fight, was to get out of being cubbyholed into one thing, one genre. But music was always the thing that kind of set me apart a little bit. So I was able to get in there and get those theme songs and, the writing for that one with My Two Dads. That was great. We had that one. That one went super theme, what's called super theme. That's when it's on every week and your show is popular. It just goes super theme. But that was exciting times.
That is.
Sure.
Well, let me ask you about the My Two Dads theme song. Did you evolve it every season? I had a guy on, and all we did was talk about theme songs. And what he brought to my attention was like how subtly every year a lot of theme songs changed. Like they might, like the Mary Tyler Moore thing, if you listen to it, like it changes every season slightly, or the Gilligan's one actually changed a lot. Did this one change? Most people only remember one version in their head though.
Yeah, I know it changed from the pilot. When we did the pilot in the first year, I know it definitely changed. It got better, I thought. I thought it was just, for the time, it was a little more progressive on the other seasons. It sounded better. Recut it, redid it, did some vocals. But then after that, I think it was the same one every week. So I think there was two versions, as I remember. They did some kind of, in the beginning, it was the kind of an animation type of thing with us all, it was kind of cool animation thing for the time. And then after that, it was more of photographs and different shots of us, and that was when they did the new theme song.
Got it. So you learned.
We wrote that 20 minutes. That was like a 20-minute write. I mean, my buddy and I, we just got right on that. Lenny and I, Macaluso, we just got on that thing and 20 minutes, we had the song done. And then, we had to sell it. Michael Jacobs was the producer, and he's also a writer. In fact, that's how I met. I didn't even know I knew him because I met him during the Don Kirschner days he worked on Don Kirschner's staff as one of the writers. And so he always had me in mind when he was producing for Joey Harris. And I didn't want to do the show. My agent got me in there to do it and to at least have the meeting. And it was one of the best things I ever did was to go on that show. And so he was one of the writers. He wanted to write that theme song. So he's on there a little bit. It was, I had to sit in the car with him. I remember I played it for him 15 times. He said, play it again. And I played it. And this is tape, a little cassette tape in the car, right? And after around 15 times, he just goes, You got it. One of my kids isn't going to college because of you, but you got it. Yeah, right, Michael. You're doing okay. That was the way that went.
Did you make more money acting or from the song?
Probably from the song on there. No, not at the time. I mean, we did pretty good with our contracts on that show. It was pretty good pay, you know. And if you equate it to what people make today, or it'd probably be around the same. We were doing pretty good. I mean, if you took the dollar for dollar and figured it out, you know, what you'd be making, we did pretty good. But, you know, cost of living, inflation, everything since then, it's a lot.
Just to afford the studio you're in right now. Look at that. You got, it's okay.
Yeah, man. You know, I built this myself.
It's nice.
I built the studio during COVID. Yeah. I'll give you a little quick roundup out here. It's, can you see this?
Yeah.
So, you know, I did this whole thing and it goes
a lot of speakers.
Back, you got the sound booth. I give you a little spin around in that. That was a labor of love. Let me tell you, that was, I said, what am I going to do? I got to do something during COVID. And I said, well, I think I'll gut the garage and build a studio. So, but
it looks amazing. So to the music, the origins of music, your mom taught you to play piano. Is that right?
She didn't teach me, but she got me in the classes because she was great. She was a great pianist. She got up to, I always say this because it's kind of an accomplishment for anybody who plays the piano, is to get up to Rhapsody in Blue. And if you could play Rhapsody in Blue, you know, Gershwin, you're pretty good, you know. And she played it beautifully, you know. So she always encouraged it, but she found me a great piano teacher in New Jersey, and she took me every week. You know, I didn't want to go all the time. I was 8 years old when I started, but she, you know, and I'm so glad I stuck with it. I mean, you know, I got the album I put out this after all these years. Mom would be, I wish she was around to see it. But it's a 65-piece orchestra, you know, a Royal Philharmonic Orchestra. I'm playing the piano on it. 8 pieces I wrote. So Mom would be proud.
That's amazing. I'm sure. They get Spotify up there.
Yeah. Yeah, they got music. Yeah, come on. Violins.
Yeah, they have elevators. Yeah. You know, they got there's music everywhere. No, that's amazing. It's great that you've been able to kind of just follow that passion and keep it throughout. Early on, you mentioned you sing and you play because saxophone, and there's some other videos I found of you. I'll randomly bring them up, but
great.
But theater, you have Jesus Christ. You see, I got Ted Neely right here. The Jesus Christ Superstar was, and Grease. You were Zuko.
Yeah, Zuko. Well, did you interview Ted?
I did. What a great guy.
He's a great guy, isn't he?
Yeah.
It's funny. I got a funny Ted story for you because if you had him on. So the funny thing with him is we all did the show. You know, I did a whole year of Jesus Christ Superstar on the road, right? Then I came back and did it on Broadway too for another year. And Teddy just came in at the end. And we, you know, I remember I was really young. I was only 18, 19, but we were talking and Teddy gets the role. It's like, geez. And then everybody wanted to do the movie. So we were all up for it. Teddy gets the movie. And the funny thing with Teddy is he was on the show, I think it was Broadway. I think he said something like 10 days or something like that. And we're on here for all this time. And Teddy gets the movie and, you know, the Broadway production until they did the movie. And so, but the funny thing is he did it for the rest of his life. He's been doing, I don't know how many shows he's done. I mean, he's literally made a career out of it, you know. Really good guy. Got to meet him, not only then, but I mean, later on in California, you know, him and his wife, and go over the house, and he's a great guy. Really good guy. But I thought, for somebody who put in that amount of time, got the Broadway show, got the movie, and then made a career out of it, you know. So it was good for him. I guess that's the way it was meant to be.
To be. I know. He was a really great guy to talk to. And I think he's done it like thousands of times. I think he's only now just retiring. I think he announced he's retiring. There's people that think he's Jesus. He's like, he's like I know. I mean, it's amazing to me.
Incredible voice to sing that show every night. I'm telling you, it is not easy. You know, it's a tough show to sing every day, you know, and he did it that many shows. That's impressive.
And to carry that passion. I mean,
yes.
150% of the whole.
All right, Teddy.
And then you were Danny Zuko. So you're my second Danny Zuko because I had Adrian Zmed on too. He was Zuko a lot too.
Yeah. Kind of the way that went was like when I was finishing up Superstar, and they kind of, you know, they always, if they like you, they want you to stick around to keep on going with it. I had my eyes on the, you know, moving along and doing other things. And then, and I got that audition in New York. So the New York Times did a before and after. So I had a shot in New York Times of me with the long hair. and then with the cigarette and the the greaser, the look, so that was pretty exciting at the time to be in New York Times and have that published. And that was my transition. So I had about 2 weeks to learn the show, 2 weeks to get in. I had to follow Barry Bostwick, who I absolutely loved, and everybody admired his talent and what he brought to that role, which was, I think everybody kind of aspired to do what Barry did with that role, So yeah, so that was a great transition, from one thing like that to a different thing like that. And then that lasted for another probably about, I'd say 15 months total between Broadway and Chicago.
When did the movie come out in relation to when you were doing it? What for the movie? Did you go?
I think it was during. It was this. I think the guys that had the really good agents. I had a good agent. I had an agent, but I didn't have that pull. That the managers had with like Jeff Conaway had that pull. I think him and Barry and John Travolta. They were all. I think a guy named Bob Lamont, if I remember correctly. But they all had that kind of connection to I was so new in the business. I'm a guy from New Jersey. Came over on the bus, had no representation, just went in and got it on an open call, So that's how it all started for me, It was pretty wild.
No, that's awesome. It's funny. I was interviewing Adrienne Barbeau, and she was talking about, because they just put out this Grease Memories book. I don't know if you were maybe in that or not.
Yeah, I am in that book. Yeah. I got a couple stories in that book that are pretty funny. Yeah.
Share one. Give me a hint.
Well, I'll tell you. Wow, this story. Well, I was going to tell you how I went from how I wanted to stay on Broadway with it, but then they called me into the office and they said, Greg, we got to talk to you. And I'm thinking, oh, geez, what could this be? And I'm playing Zuko on Broadway. I went to the office and producers are there, director, everybody's there. And I'm thinking, oh, this is not good. Whatever this is not good. And they said, we promised this role to Jeff Conaway, for a while now. So we want to give you a choice because we know Jeff's coming in to do the Broadway show. So you can either be his understudy or you can do it in Chicago every night. Take the Chicago company. And so that was easy for me. I said, all right, I'll take the Chicago company because I didn't want to do the understudy thing, So that's how that started. So what happened was I went to a party that I'll just say a relative. This is what's in the book. See, if I tell you this now, well, people still want to read the book. It's a good book. A lot of stories. This friend of mine, he was kind of like an uncle to me. He says, he throws this party for me and we're at a restaurant. And he says to me, Greg, you like this part, huh? I said, yeah, no, it's a great part. I love this part. He goes, you want to do the part all the time, don't you? I said, well, yeah, I'd love to do all the part all the time. He says, okay. And he walks away, right? And he's throwing this party for me, right? And so now it's bothering me. I'm thinking, what? Why is he talking to me like this, So he comes back up to me and I come up to him later. I said, hey, listen, Ernie. I said, when you're saying this to me, what do you mean? Like, why are you? He says, man, I mean, I'm not gonna. Just, I'm talking knees. I said, whoa, wait. He says, I said, listen, man, I don't want anything. I love this guy. He's a great friend of mine. I wouldn't want anything to happen to him. No, don't. Let's put it this way. Jeff, if he was alive, he's not with us anymore. But if Jeff was alive, he said, thanks, Greg. Because, I said, no, nothing like that. Please, no. I know what he had in mind, but hey, he's a Jersey guy. What can I say? That was the story. That's how it happened. So I just let it go. He let it go. He didn't do anything crazy. I never knew whether he was completely. I don't think he was kidding around though. I think he was pretty serious. He wanted me to have that role. I was happy with Chicago, man. That was great with me. I got to go out of town, go to a great city, and really enjoy. Get to know a whole new city, and yeah, it was great. And a whole bunch of people, by the way, that were really great in the show. Mary Lou Henner was in it. She played Marty. In fact, John Travolta came out and he was playing Duty at the time. Then he ended up getting, of course, Zuko in the movie. So yeah, it was good, but it was pretty funny. I wouldn't mention any names in that story. I could have made it sound a little better, but it's pretty cool.
Appreciate it. Everyone go grab that book and get all of Greg's stories.
Get the other details,
It's a great like coffee table book. So
yeah.
When I was talking to Adrienne Barbeau and she says Barry Bostwick was the first Zuko. Now in my head, I didn't know that. I didn't know that at that point. And in my head is the Spin City Barry Bostwick. I don't get it. But then I saw pictures. I'm like, oh, okay. And I saw a clip and I'm like, oh, I get it. Yeah, he was definitely Danny Zuko.
He was great. He was the best. Honestly, nobody messed up. When you saw him perform, I had to watch him for 2 weeks just to learn the show and get the moves and just just try to emulate some of what the role encompassed, you know. And but he was just, I can't even tell you. I mean, I've saw him in a couple other things too. He was phenomenal. I think it was Robert Bridegroom. He did that, and of course he did the what's it with the plant that eats everybody.
Little Shop of Horrors.
Thank you. Yeah.
Was he Seymour? Dennis.
I'm trying to think. It's a long time ago. I remember there was a special one in New York that we went to, a live performance of it. So it's pretty cool.
That's my favorite. I love Little Shop of Horrors.
Yeah.
All right. So you leave Greece and then you head out to LA to break into the movies.
Yeah. You know, I left Greece because I had this thing in my head that I can't get stuck doing anything. You know what I mean? I can't make anything a career out of anything, you know. It's got to be something new, challenging, that kind of thing. So at the end of the contract, they asked me if I wanted to stay. You know, I said, I'd love to, but I'm going to go to New York and I'm just going to go back and I'll live in New York. I was living on 87th and Amsterdam up there. It just so happened when I got back, I got this audition, a really good audition for a thing called A Year at the Top with Paul Schaefer and I. And, well, as it turned out, but Don Kirschner was producing it, and he had two other producers with him. One was Neil Bogart, who's doing the records, Casablanca records, and then of course Norman Lear, the infamous Norman Lear. So we had three heavyweight dudes on our producing and involved in trying to get the show off the ground. The funny, crazy thing with that, there's always some crazy story with these things with me. It's like I went through the whole summer of auditions and I didn't get it. You know, I was right down to the end and runner-up. And my girlfriend at the time, she was doing this show called Musical Chairs. And so I was sitting in the audience, and Kirsten was over there, right? And Jay Siegel, remember, in the jungle, the mighty jungle. Jay wrote that, And so Jay was working with the orchestra because there was like a small band with that show, Musical Chairs. So Kirshner keeps looking at me. He just keeps on looking over at me. I'm thinking, he remembers me from, the thing. So finally he says, he called everybody babe. He goes, babe, don't I know you from someplace? And it's funny because I came down to say hi to her because they were on a break. He was there. Jay is over in the orchestra. Like we're all right next to each other, right? And Jay hears this whole thing and he looks over at me and I said, hey, Jay, how you doing? And then Donnie Kirshner says to me, and then I said, just before I could say anything, Jay goes, hey, Greg, come here. And so I went, okay, all right. Luckily, because what he did is he cut Kirshner off from realizing that he already auditioned me for the whole summer. Apparently, I wasn't that memorable, but he met a lot of people. I mean, you're talking probably thousands of people. And so Jay says, Greg, that guy that we got that hired, he fell through. He turned out to be terrible. Donnie, he's all of a sudden he's in. Just go along with it. I said, all right. And so he says, don't I know you? Finally, I said, yeah. I said, yeah, I'm an actor. Yeah. And he says, yeah. He says, Jay, don't you think this guy would be perfect for Cliff, the part of Cliff? Jay says, yeah, he would be. He's an actor too. And he sings. And so, because you had to sing with this show. And so literally, I wrote down on a piece of paper, Kirschner, my number. He says, I'm going to call you, babe. I'm going to call you tomorrow. I said, all right. I figured, yeah, right. Yeah, I've heard that before. I get the call. And he says, what are you doing at 5 o'clock today? I'd like to fly you out to New York to meet, to LA to meet Norman Lear. And we're going to have all the guys there. And I think you're going to fit in perfect with this. So no auditions, besides my whole summer of auditions. I go out. They put me up in the Farmer's Daughter over in CBS, right across from CBS, and the old Farmer's Daughter. I go over to the studio in the morning. Norman Lear is there. Neil Bogart's there. Paul Schaefer, Josh Mostel, Donnie Scardino, and everybody that's in the cast is all there. And I walk in and they go, here, you got to say this line at the right time. Just say this one line. That's all you got to say is this one line. I said, all right. And we're in a sound stage. So kind of like a studio in the sound stage. So I go in, I get to the point, I say my line, perfect. It came out fine. It was fine. And then Donnie says to Norman, he says, what do you think, babe? What do you think? Good? And Norman goes, yeah, it's okay with me. Just like that. And then you're hired. And that's how that's how I started that. How crazy is that? Usually you go through, you got to meet the network. You got to meet the thing. You got to go through all the auditions, the whole thing, which I did for the summer. But that was it. And then that brought me to Hollywood. And that's a long-winded story.
It's a very interesting story, though. It's kind of cool. It's just the way things, because if you weren't dating that person, or if you hadn't gone to visit that day.
Right? Those are all the universes lined up sometimes for you, you know? Yeah, exactly.
Mickey Rooney was in 2 episodes.
Yep, Mickey Rooney. He came in, no, he was in right in the beginning. That's right. I'm trying to think. We did a pilot on film. So it was he came in later because that's right. Because in the beginning it was Josh Mostel. He was the devil's son. And then, wait a minute, I'm trying to think. Matt, we have to look that up now because I can't remember when Mickey Rooney came into it, if he was in there from the beginning, but he was great to work with. Boy, he was a character, let me tell you.
It was Josh Mostel in Jesus Christ Superstar?
For some reason, I think he might have been. Wow. Yeah, wait a minute.
Yeah, wasn't he?
Got to look that up.
Yeah, he was King Herod.
Okay.
Yeah. Because his dad's real famous too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Famous dad.
Yeah.
Zero.
Zero, that's right.
All right, so that didn't work out. Paul Schaefer left Saturday Night Live to go do this, and then went back to Saturday Night Live.
Yeah, well, we ended up doing a bunch of shows. You know, we did the pilot, and then I was kept under contract. Kirschner kept me under contract for 2 years just because he was determined to get this show on the air. Then there's a girl by the name of Priscilla Lopez. She played my girlfriend in it, and Vivian Blaine was in it, and Robert Alda was in it. These are all people that Phil Leeds. These are all people that got zapped from the old guys into the young guys. So my old guy was Robert Alda. This girl, Judith, can't remember her first name is Judith, but she was a singer in New York. Norman Lear found her, but she did not work out well on the show. So she didn't translate, which is something that happens a lot. People, they do Broadway, but they don't translate to film or TV for whatever reason. But so she didn't translate very well, and it was nothing but trouble. So the show kept on. I got a call one morning. Remember the Dinah Shore show? Have you ever heard of that one?
Sure.
Okay. So the Dinah Shore show, I was supposed to do that, do some music, be on that show. And our show was airing that night. And I got a call from the Dinah Shore show. He said, Greg, did you get up yet? I said, no, I'm not up. It's early. She says, don't get up. Don't get up because your show is canceled and you're not going to be on the Dinah Shore show because you have nothing to talk about. So I said, oh, okay. I think I'll stay in bed. So it was a pretty depressing day. I got to tell you that. Then Kirschner kept me under contract though for 2 years. So that kept me in California because he was determined to get it going. And he got it going again. And then they couldn't get the time slots right. It's just one of those things that happens in Hollywood once in a while or a lot.
Was it just after this then that you had your debut theatrical film debut in Scorchy?
Oh my God. Oh, geez. Yeah, must have been. You know, that was, that was
the IMDb trivia for that movie, is that it is your first movie. That's
my first movie.
With Connie Stevens.
Yep, Connie Stevens. I remember I got $1,200 for the whole movie.
That's awesome.
And they shot me with a spear gun for real. You talk about, that was a really low budget movie. I'm sure it was very low budget. And guy's name, Hikmet Avidas, right? He was the guy that directed it. And I remember there was a scene where this guy had to come through the door, at night, and I'm in bed, Connie Stevens and I were in bed, and they worked it out. They said, okay, Greg, so what we're going to do is we have an expert with a spear gun. This he's the best. I said, oh, great. I'm green as can be, man. Yeah. I says, yeah, well, how are we going to do the shot? He says, well, all you're going to do is you're going to sit up in bed. Like we're going to have a board that's about this thick we're going to have it all taped to you. And all you do is sit up and he shoots a spear into the board. I'm not kidding.
That sounds like a nightmare.
I mean, come on, really?
You still wake up to this day in a cold sweat? Because it seems like that's the kind of thing that would just haunt you forever.
Right? I mean, geez, I'll never forget. And the crazy thing is they use duct tape, hair and everything. Like they put whatever hair I've got on my chest at the time. I mean, I remember and it worked. I mean, I said, okay, and action. I sat up in the bed. Boom, guy shoots a spear. Boom. Spear hits me right on the board. He was good. Thank God. And I get hit with this spear.
If he wasn't good, we wouldn't be talking right now.
Yeah, right. And then they had to take the tape. The tape was the worst part. Getting the tape off because it was like getting what is that called? I know
what you're talking about.
Move hair with tape. What's it called? I remember that about that movie more than anything. Just that one scene because it was a nightmare.
Ouch.
There's always a story. I'll tell you, Jeff.
There is always. Do you have any good stories working with Ringo Starr in Ringo?
Well, just working with Ringo is the story for me because I was always fan my whole life, man. I was just I love the Beatles. So it was just how it happened. It was kind of quick. I remember this girl, Althea. She was married to this friend of mine who's now we write some songs together, David Pomeranz. But she said I was new in town and everything. She said, Greg, you want to, you played a greaser, what you want to do? They're looking for like a greaser guy. He's got a 57 Chevy and he's going to sell it to Ringo. And I said, yeah, sure, So I showed up and it was kind of an unorganized shoot. I never knew what was going on with it. All just is, we just did the scene. I think you can see that scene on YouTube. I think it's on there. It's pretty funny. But yeah, no, I didn't get to hang out with Ringo. We just talked. It was really whatever we did right there on the set. And then he'd go his way and do what he had to do, He was Ringo, man.
Did he give you a peace sign?
Probably. He was a really nice guy. I can tell you that. He was great.
He seems like he'd be a really nice guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was great. You're getting some of the obscure stuff here.
It's interesting. Like, how does it feel for you? Like, it is having done all these things and some of this stuff isn't even, it's hard to find, or like we're about to talk about BJ and the Bear. It's not streaming anywhere. It's like,
I don't know.
It's weird, right? I mean, it's like, you'd think BJ and the Bear would. I said to my friend, I'm talking to Greg Evigan, did you watch BJ and the Bear? He goes, who didn't watch BJ and the Bear? Yeah. And it's like, of course. So you think like a show that has resonated and everyone seems to remember should be more available.
Yeah, I agree. But there's always some kind of story with that and why it's not. Like I heard a few stories about that show and I don't know if it's true or not, but then I just heard someone told me that they saw it on, I can't remember the name of it. I wrote it down somewhere, but they saw episodes, full episodes. So, because I heard there was a fire that burnt the negatives, and then I heard that's not true, and who knows? And then I heard it was because there was so much discrepancy over the music because they used a lot of soundtracks that they had sung by other artists and don't know exactly who had the rights. It could be a rights issue. Who knows?
Yeah, music can screw it up. I remember that the Larry Sanders Show took forever to come out because they couldn't get music rights and stuff like that. I remember.
Yeah.
But BJ and the Bear, this is what blew you up, right? I mean, like, this is like.
Oh, absolutely. No doubt about it. We had we came out against the show Network, the first run of Network. They ran it on. In fact, Fred Silverman, who turned out to be, in the long run, a fan of mine because he hired me for a pilot that he did kind of on the way out on his career. I think he was done after this pilot didn't go. And I'm trying to think of the name of it. But we did do a few shows on this pilot. But Fred, he did not want female truckers on his network. He did not like the idea because he wanted those police shows, those drama shows, and then all of a sudden there's this show with a guy with a chimp in a truck, driving around, and he didn't want it on his network. So he tried to kill it. So on the first run, he put us up against Network, the first run of the movie Network, and we got a 47 share, we got a 47. I mean, that's like, nobody gets even a one share now. You don't even get a one share. You don't get one. We had a 47 share. So that's almost half the country in one night watching you. So you go out the door the next day and it's like, whoa, what happened? I'm famous. I can't go anywhere, without being talked to or recognized, or people come up to you and I love it now. Keep coming. But that was, and then he tried to kill us again by running us against another one. And then we got a 41 share a couple of weeks later. Then he said, and this was the funny part, I did one of those Battle of the Network Stars, and I see this girl sitting there curling her hair, and her mom's curling her hair for her. And we're all, everybody's walking around getting ready for the games, or the games begin, the network games. And I see this girl, she's a beautiful girl, curling her hair, mom's curling it, and she sees me, and she just jumps up, and she comes running over to me, and she goes, "Hi, I'm Judy. I'm going to be a trucker on your show." And I go, "What are you talking about?" Because I like the show. I like the format the way format we had, which was our format was good. It's like every week was different. It was almost like an anthology. It was every week we had a different thing, different story, different people. $1.50 a mile, no questions asked. It always took you to some pretty good places. And now they're going to take it. And then right away I call, as soon as I said, "Oh, great, thank you, yeah, great to meet you." And I go over to I get the phone. I forget, probably a payphone at the time. And I called Dick Lindheim over at Universal. I said, "Dick, listen, a girl just ran up to me and says she's going to be on the show. What is going on?" And he says, All right, Greg, just calm down. He says, I didn't want to say, I wanted to tell you, I was going to tell you, but there's going to be 7 of them. 7 lady truckers. And I'm like, all right, what's going on? He says, Fred Silverman wants to spice this show up. He wants more of that. And he also wants to put it in the studio so that we don't have to go so far on the road and all that. And I'm like, oh, geez, okay. And that's how it happened, my friend. That's how we ended up with it. And it worked out, I mean, it was what it was. Everybody liked it. The ratings stayed around like 30 share. We did good on the ratings. This is just what they do sometimes, what these guys do. They're in charge, and they came up with that idea. And then the strike is what killed us at the end, because we got involved at the end of the strike, and that ended it, unfortunately, for a lot of people, not just us.
Yeah, that can put a pause on a lot of things. Was that Judy Landers that you were talking about?
How did you guess? Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And then was it equal parts exciting and scary to be sitting with a chimp the whole time?
It was never scary. No, it was never scary. It was always great. He was the best. That guy, little guy, he was great.
I'd say scary because chimps can be, you hear stories. Not Sam, not your Sam, but like
Sam was young. He was a young chimp. I think a lot of those stories are with older chimps, and when they get a little older, they want to challenge you, and if you happen to be there on the challenge, you're in trouble. Very painful. Yeah, he did bite me a few times, but just mostly because he didn't like to work after 6. He'd get really ornery. He's great though. One time I tried to train him to share with me, because I thought it'd be kind of cool. I'll have a hot dog in the truck, and I'll hand it to him. He'll take a bite and he'll give it back to me. That would be great, right? So the trainer's like, Greg, forget it. I said, what do you mean? He says, I think we can train him. He says, nah, you can't train him. Not for that. He's not going to do that. And sure enough, luckily I had the jacket on, I had the jacket on, because otherwise my arm would have been full of holes and ripped off, partially ripped apart, because he, I insisted on doing this. I said, we're going to figure this out. We can do this. And so he, we did I did the exchange. He took the bite. I went back to get it. He's like, you got to be kidding me. You think I'm giving you this hot dog back? Not a chance. And then all of a sudden, I'll say, come on, Sam, give me that hot dog. And all of a sudden, his entire body flew into my arm. Boom, hit me hard, I said, all right, you're right, Marvin. He was the trainer. Done.
Last time you didn't listen to Marvin, right?
Yeah, Marvin knew about the chimp. It was funny.
So BJ and the Bear, so you land the show. This is a Glenn A. Larson show, who was like the Shonda Rhimes at the time. Meaning like he had every show on the air.
Yeah.
He was he was the prolific person. Battlestar Galactica, The Fall Guy, Knight Rider, just to name a few.
Yeah.
And Sheriff Lobo. I didn't realize that was a spinoff of your show until I started.
Lucky for that spinoff, because if that spinoff, they ended up combining those 2 shows, because it was, they were very, like you said, you didn't really realize it was a spinoff sometimes, but it was kind of the same feel, and then we integrated. Like I would go over to his show and do something, and he'd come over, obviously because he was on our show, but Claude Akins, and so pretty much they put our 50 and their 50 together and had 100 for syndication. And that's why we went for so long. That's why people remember it so much, because of that syndication package. If it wasn't for that show, I don't know if our show would have gotten the continued coverage after it was over that it did.
Well, thank goodness for Sheriff Lobo. And
hey, Lobo saves the day, yeah.
And then packaging. So speaking of Knight Rider, I read an article. You turned it down.
I did turn it down, because I was talking to a chimp for all those years. I wasn't going to talk to a car. Yeah, that's no way. Yeah, I turned it down. Yeah, I'm still glad I did, because I got BJ and my 2 dads. I couldn't have done my 2 dads, which put me out of kind of the same. I was getting typecast, and that I couldn't really hardly get another role or anything, because it was so popular. The show was so popular that you're BJ. That's it. So I said, one stipulation for my 2 dads: you got to let me grow a beard. And so I agree. He said, oh, yeah, you're a New York artist. Grow the beard. It'll be great. At the time, not too many people had beards on TV, I don't think.
Did you ever bump into David Hasselhoff? Does he go, thank you?
He doesn't. I don't know if he knows. I told him, I bumped into him a few times, along the way. We never talked about that. I just congratulate him on it.
I think he was in the Muppet music video we talked about earlier.
Yeah, was he in that? Okay.
I think it was his Baywatch years there.
Yeah, there's a lot of people.
So after BJ and the Bear, the other thing before My Two Dads, we get into My Two Dads, like the other big thing is you become like a Tiger Beat cover model, right? So
Yeah.
that's a whole shift in itself, right? I mean, just kind of being on all these magazines, forget the cool TV guides and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
That you have on your website. Everyone can check out evigan.com. See how I just subtly slipped that in there? That was pretty good.
Yeah.
Do you collect those? Like, what do you have from those days? Like, do you have magazine covers? Like, did you collect stuff? Was your mom throwing stuff in a box? Like,
you named it. Mom is the one. Thank God for moms, because, she passed away a few years ago, and so did my father. When I took over all the stuff and went through everything, there were boxes of memorabilia, and she kept them really organized too. That's what was so great about Mom there. She always kept it organized. Plus, she helped handle the fan club for a while too. So, unfortunately, at the time, nothing was digitized like it is today. So, a lot of those people, you lose touch. There's a whole different system then.
Well,
that's why I'm hoping people go to the website now and sign up for the CD so we can get back into communication.
Yeah, go to evigan.com. You can sign up for Greg's mailing list and Philharmonic Orchestra album with the London's Royal Philharmonic Orchestra.
Yeah.
There you go. Abbey Road recorded at Abbey Road Studio in London. That's awesome. I was just at Abbey Road a year ago. I have the picture.
Did you?
Well,
great. You did the walk across the street?
The street, yeah.
Did you take your shoes off?
No. I found it to be very stressful because, you think it's like this cool thing, but it's an actual road. It's a working road.
It's a working road. And the day that I did this, here's the album right there, guys. See there? And this is the CD. I got vinyl coming. And then a lot of people like vinyl now. And I also have the digital distribution. It's going to be on Amazon and it's going to be on Apple Music. When we did it, the day I was there, they were doing a reenactment of the Beatles where they had the Volkswagen there and all that stuff. So,
that's amazing. My daughter was studying abroad in London, so we went to visit her, and her boyfriend happened to be there at the time. So there's 4 of us in our family. So we did the 4, and he took the picture. So we got a real solid picture.
Oh, good. Okay.
And then for like Father's Day, my daughter had it printed on an actual vinyl album cover.
Oh, yeah.
I'd also once taken a picture in New York, the steps where Billy Joel did The Innocent Man. It's like on Mercer Street. There's like those steps, can you picture him standing? And so he took that picture too, and then made that into an album for me as well. So great. Nice. Anyway, London, Abbey Road. That's pretty iconic just to record there. That's super cool.
Yeah. In the big room.
So, all right. What else? You did other Glenn Larsons. You did P.S. I Love You and Masquerade as well.
Right. Masquerade was the one I did pretty much after, what happened first? I'm trying to think. After BJ ended, Masquerade was, then P.S. I Love You, yeah.
P.S. I Love You, you sing the song again. So you're like, you got to put out a whole album. You should just re-record these. Even if they don't have them, you just pull Taylor Swift, just Greg's version,
Yeah, why not? That's good.
Record them. Yeah. And then this only popped it out because I had interviewed Jeff Altman, Pink Lady, and Jeff the show. That I found on YouTube as well. You singing with I think it's me and Kay. Yeah. Right. Don't Go Breaking My Heart and Last Dance.
Yep, that's right. You got to send me the link. I don't know where that is, but I know that my band was on. That was one of the best presentations, I should say. Of our band, and just a good presentation of the music. The song "People I Know" I did on there. That came out great. In fact, I ran into Marty Sid. He's 80 some. I mean, no, what is he? 90 something. But he was still sharp as a pistol. Really nice guy. It was great to see him after all that time. But I hadn't seen him since then.
Well, that was great. I mean, it was a great musical number because the problem with the show was they didn't speak English, but they were great singers.
They were good, really good. Yeah.
So that was why I'll send you the link.
Yeah,
I'll put the link in the show notes too, because everyone deserves to see you singing "Don't Go Breaking My Heart." There's some great clips on YouTube of you. I assume it's from One Day at a Time, singing with Mackenzie Phillips too.
Yeah, right.
And then on Fame as well.
Fame. I always try to get the music in there, so that's when the music really helped for anybody out there, people that want to act and they want to keep yourself rounded because, you never know when you're going to have to do something in a role that requires you playing the guitar or the piano or whatever it is, always helps. It could actually make the difference on whether you get the part or not, for sure. Is if, I think when they sent that audition out, it was probably got to be able to play the guitar. And I didn't really play much guitar. Now I can play a little more guitar because I made it one of my New Year's resolutions to learn the guitar, you know.
The saxophone, you're really good at saxophone.
Oh, thanks. Yeah.
There's some good clips. You got a great voice too, by the way. All right. So My Two Dads, another classic. You have a good, and we haven't even talked about TekWar, but like My Two Dads is, I mean, I rewatched the pilot. It's still hilarious. You know, sometimes you watch like an old show and it's like, it feels like that time. But I was watching, I was like, this is great. This is like, I mean, it holds up. You know what I mean? Right. And
Good.
like,
Yeah. Yeah.
your dynamic with Paul Reiser is great. Stacey Keenan is great, but I really want to talk about Florence Stanley because she is so funny. The judge, she's the judge.
She is hilarious. She was hilarious, boy. Yeah.
Oh man, you're like, oh, I remember her. You know.
Oh yeah,
Wife.
no, she was. Yeah. You know, the thing I remember most about Florence on our show. I mean, I remember a lot of things about Florence, but what I remember and admire the most is probably why I remember it the most is that she wanted to direct on the show. She wanted to direct a few shows, you know. I remember the way she directed compared to how everybody else directed. Like she came in and we're all thinking, what is going on here? What is she doing? You know what? You know, so she wanted to work like we were doing a play, which kind of we were doing. You know, when you think back, you're really doing a short play. You're doing a 20-minute play every week. You're doing it in front of a live audience. So you should think like you're doing a play instead of think like you're, you know, shooting a sitcom or a movie or anything like that. And Florence worked out every moment. Like she would take one little section that she knew was going to be important or every section, but some were more important, obviously. It's the way they were written. And Chuck Lorre, by the way, was one of our writers. So whenever he gave us a script that had some physical humor as well as he was the best to me. So she worked out every little moment. And then in that 22 minutes, everything was worked out. By the time we get done with the week of rehearsal, we knew the show better than we ever knew it on the other shows when we did them because of the way she worked with us, you know, as a director. And then when we did the show, it was like we were doing this great play. The one that was Paul and I were in the closet and the boyfriend's coming over. I'm trying to think of her name right now. She was in that show that was in the airport. It was a show that was in an airport, and it was the whole thing.
Wings.
Oh, Wings, right?
Yeah.
Wings. Well, Crystal Bernard. Yeah, she's great. So she's the one that lived in our building, and we had to do the laundry or something, and our laundry was broken, and I'm stuck in my underwear, and the boyfriend's coming over, and we're afraid of what he's going to do if he sees us in the apartment with the underwear. So she says, get in the closet. And we have one of the best scenes of the show, I think, ever in that closet with Paul and I and the threat of the boyfriend coming over, you know. I'll tell you no more if you want to see it. The way Florence directed that and put that together to me was the way everybody should work. And I respected her and admired her for that. Plus, when she delivered a line, she made you wait. You waited for it. You knew it was going to be good. Here it comes. Boom. And she clobbers you. You know what I mean? That's why she's so good. You know, she was great. Yeah. I loved her.
Her timing was impeccable. That's a great story about her approach, but she's so funny. Like if you go rewatch the pilot, I won't ruin the joke, but like how she explains how she became a judge is so funny.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. I mean,
you mean on the pilot for this?
The pilot. Yeah. When you two both show up to get Stacey for the first time. And like,
right.
Was it cool working with Paul Reiser, or was he all like, I just did Aliens? No, I'm just kidding.
No, he was great. No, Paul was like, him and I got along great. We still get along great. He just I think overall though, he didn't want to be there all the time on that show because I think his aspirations were more for the show that he got right after. And I think he had a relationship with the networks. And, you know, this is what I think, okay, is that the networks gave him this show because he was a comedian. And at the time, if you were a comedian, man, you can get a show just like that. And I think this is the one they gave him. And he wanted it, you know, he didn't really feel as passionate about it because it wasn't as adult as he wanted it to be. You know, like we always had the moment of, you know, it was like we call it the moment of shit at the end, you know, excuse the French, when we had to explain what this was all about and bring it all back and send the message for everybody so that all the families watching got the right message. And I don't think, you know, Paul loved that moment as much, you know. And I think he wanted to be on, and he did. He got Mad About You. He put it together, the whole thing. So we had a plan at the end of our show to be doing that, and he had the relationship with the networks too. So that was good for him.
He also had the desire and drive to be in the 1994 Muppets music video, She Drives Me Crazy.
What was in that?
Oh yeah, he's in that too. Yeah.
Everyone's
in that. Everyone's in that.
Yeah.
I had to watch the whole thing because you don't show up till 3 minutes and 39 seconds in.
Gee, okay.
All right, so that's awesome. And then anyone watching, go revisit. It's on Tubi. You can watch My Two Dads on Tubi.
Great.
TekWar, working with William Shatner. That just amazing working with the iconic William Shatner.
Yeah, we got along great. You know, it was a show that, again, the agent called me in and said, "Hey, Greg, you know, they're doing the show in Canada. William Shatner wants to meet with you. He thinks you're perfect for this." And so literally I went in, and the funny thing with Bill is he said he didn't, you know, "Greg, I respect you as an actor. I don't want you to read for this. I don't want you to have to read for this." So it was just kind of a meet and greet, I thought. And so, you know, but I was prepared. I went in, and after the whole thing, you know, he says, "All right, let's read." You know, so we read. And afterwards, I was done doing the reading with him. He said, "You're perfect for the part." And I left. And, you know, by the time I got home, the agent called, you know, was there, and I had the deal, and they were working it out. And, but then I was going to Russia to do this thing called the White Nights concert. This friend of mine, Larry Namer, got me on this White Nights concert. And I went over and had a really good night out there in the field, watching one of the shows. And we were walking across the field. I think everybody, you know, was drinking straight vodka, you know. So I was joined in, you know, went into Russia. And
as they say.
Yeah. I'm walking across this field, and I'm leaving to go back the next day. I walked across this field, and I step in a hole that must have been, I don't know, all the way up to my knee. And I wrenched my knee like you can't believe. I mean, I just literally pulled it out. But luckily, I had a half a bottle of vodka in me. And so I went through the rest of the night, but the knee got bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, you know. And then by the time I had to leave in the morning, long story short, I get on the plane, the stewardesses are like, "Oh my God, what happened?" I said, I got it. I really messed up last night, you know. We got to do something for you. We have to get you ice, you know, because it was literally enormous. My leg was twice the size, and it was throbbing, and they helped me out. They packed it in ice for me. As soon as I got back, I went to a surgeon. And he says, you got to fix this. I said, "Yeah, I know, but I can't. I got to start work on TekWar in like 2 weeks." He goes, 2 weeks? Geez, that's going to be tough. You know, I said, "Yeah. Well, what can you do?" He says, "Well, we can operate as soon as the swelling goes down a little bit. You know, we'll go as fast as we can." And bottom line, I called Bill. I said, "Hey, listen, I got to tell you, I had something happen to me when I went on the trip in Russia. And I don't know how it's going to affect our future relationship," you know? And he goes, "Well, what is it, Greg? What is it?" You know? I said, "Well, I've told him the whole story." And he goes, "Well, you've been frozen for 30 years. So you come out of the deep freeze and you got a limp." I said, "All right, you know, so we can work it out." He goes, "Yeah, absolutely." We worked it out. And I as soon as I got there in Canada, I mean, it was hard because what I found out years later was I really had a torn ACL, but he never mentioned that to me. He just said, "I'll fix your meniscus." So he fixed the meniscus, but it never, I was always wondering why it would just pop out of nowhere, you know, and painfully pop out. So I started wearing, you know, then I had all these machines they gave me over there, you know, to put on it to try to heal it quicker. And bottom line is if you see one of the first scenes we did in the pilot, the first movie, I have to run across this field. And I'm like, I can't run. I said, "I'll tell you what, Bill, I'm going to pull in really close. So really close to my face. And I'm going to act out me running. And then we're going to have the background look like it's going quick." And so he says, "All right, that's a good idea. Let's do that." And we cut that all together and made it look like, we worked it out. And then obviously things got better as time went by, and we shot the scenes. And we did 4 2-hour movies, and we did 18 one-hour shows. So we had a pretty good run on that. But that was the starter. Always get off to a bad start, you know? Jeez.
That's funny. So many great stories. I know there's a million things we didn't cover.
We'll have to get together again sometime.
Yeah, we'll do that. That'd be awesome. So many great iconic roles, and it was really cool getting to hang with you and hear them.
Thanks for bringing them out. You know, thanks for bringing the stories out. Yeah.
So let's plug the album one more time. How about that?
All right.
Go for it. I'll let you do the honors.
Go to my website, evigan.com. But we're going to have the vinyl and the CDs available, and then digital distribution. Oh, the name of the album is Greg Evigan with London's Royal Philharmonic Orchestra. That's the name of the album.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Vinyl's the way to go. Vinyl's the way to go. I started collecting, recollecting vinyl about a couple of years ago. I've got like 400. I usually only buy used unless it's like in this scenario where it only is new. Vinyl's just so much fun. It's so nice to hold something in your hands and like listen to something. Exclusive on Evigan.com.
Yes, sir.
Awesome, man. Thank you so much. You're the best.
All right. You too, man. Thank you. Thanks, Jeff. I'll see you again.